And the new Lucas Browne upsets Ruslan Chagaev in what was a really, really good, really entertaining fight. If you haven't seen it, I strongly recommend that you sit down and watch the fight. Very, very entertaining scrap, and Lucas Browne really put in the performance of his life. Not only on my card was he beating Ruslan Chagaev, but he actually stopped him. You know, he dropped him hard in the 10th round, I believe it was, and then finished really, really, really well. Really good fight. Let me get into this for a start. I scored Lucas Browne the first 2 rounds here. I thought he was winning by outboxing Chagaev, which I thought was really interesting because I've always viewed Lucas Browne as a really flawed boxer, but he put in the boxing performance of his life. Browne, I was making notes as the fight was going along, and at the end of the first round, I've put in my notes, will Browne gas? Will Browne run out of stamina? Because Lucas Browne came out and was the more active fighter. He was circling Chagaev on the back foot. He was throwing a jab. Lots and lots of circling, lots of movement. He was up on his toes as well. He was quite light on his feet for such a big guy, moving around the ring, bringing the volume, bringing the output. I thought that he fundamentally outworked Ruslan Chagaev in the first 2 rounds. I thought Chagaev woke up a bit, started coming into it in the 3rd round, but for me the theme of the fight up to the first 5 rounds was Lucas Browne winning this fight by boxing. And he was showing a bit of punch variety, Browne. He was throwing a nice uppercut, he was throwing a decent hook to the body. Lucas Browne was... I sent out a tweet off the 5 rounds. I said, on my scorecard, I have got Lucas Browne 4-1 up here. And I stand by that. I was looking at some of the other tweets going back and forth. A lot of people had it like me, Lucas Browne 4-1 up off the 5. Some people had scored it to Chagaev 3 rounds to 2. I guess it was one of those fights where it depends what you like. For me, Browne was pushing the pace. He was dominating behind the jab. He was moving. He was bringing the volume. Ruslan Chagaev did possibly look like the more dangerous fighter. He was quite low output, but quite high quality. I thought Chagaev was countering Lucas Browne quite well. I thought he was timing him quite well. And I thought when Chagaev threw, he was able to cut through the Browne defences. But I just felt Lucas Browne was pushing the pace a bit. And, with the output and with his boxing, was just about doing enough to win the fight. And even though it was competitive, I had him 4-1 up. Things changed in the 6th round. In the 6th round, Chagaev comes out. And he drops Lucas Browne heavily. And Lucas Browne was in all sorts of bother in that 6th round. He showed tremendous heart and tremendous chin to get up. He was dropped by a huge left hook that Ruslan Chagaev threw. And when he got up, he was on unsteady legs. Ruslan Chagaev went in on him, went hard, and was knocking him all over the ring. I thought Lucas Browne was gone at that point, and he showed tremendous credit. Now, something that I think was very suspicious, it appeared to my eye, and this is based purely on my eye test, but I was looking at the clock. And the clock disappears at the end of a round when there's like 10 or 15 seconds left. It appeared for me that this round continued for an extra 15-20 seconds, which was very, very suspicious indeed. This was Chagaev's home turf. He was down, certainly on my scorecard, by 3 rounds. Lucas Browne was putting in the performance of a lifetime. Chagaev drops him towards the end of the round, and somehow the round, to my eye only, seemed to get extended by an extra couple of seconds, which I find very, very suspicious. And I have major questions over that. It seemed very dodgy. Even when the bell did finally come, which for my money, as I say, was quite late, capitalising on Lucas Browne being on unsteady legs, Chagaev threw a handful of punches after the bell. That is very questionable what happened there. But regardless, Lucas Browne did very well to survive that round. I thought he was out on his feet. And I was amazed in the 7th round. I actually scored the 7th round to Lucas Browne. He came out, he showed tremendous powers of recuperation. He came out and showed his intent at the start of the 7th round. He actually threw 4 or 5 uppercuts straight on the bounce, just 1, 2, 3, 4. And he was catching Chagaev. He was catching him really well. Landing on Chagaev whatsoever, all over the shop. That round, bizarrely, ended 40 minutes quickly. So that round was only a 2-minute 20 round. So who knows what was going on the timekeeping there. It was very, 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 very bizarre. 8th round again for me, Lucas Browne just by pure activity. Chagaev, he's timing Browne nicely. He's landing with accuracy. He's countering Browne, but he's just not doing enough for me. And the theme is Lucas Browne's boxing. On his back foot, up on his toes, moving, bit of upper body movement, pumping a jab, and he's causing Chagaev problems. And actually, what I've started to write down on the 7th and 8th round, Lucas Browne is actually making Chagaev miss. Lucas Browne is starting to make Chagaev look a bit inaccurate, because Lucas Browne is constantly moving up the angles, he's wheeling and pivoting on his back foot. He's making it awkward for Chagaev. Chagaev's running around the ring after him, but Chagaev's looking a bit slow on his feet, a bit heavy-legged. And Lucas Browne is outworking him and starting to make him miss a bit. So seriously, I think I tweeted this out, that I had Lucas Browne up by 3 rounds after 8. So I had Lucas Browne by 3 rounds up. I was very concerned for Lucas Browne at this point, though, because it was a tight fight, and it really did depend how you score it. I went with the volume of Browne and the movement and the jab. Chagaev was landing probably the harder punches, so I wouldn't have been surprised whatsoever if Browne had been, in my opinion, robbed on the scorecard. So I was feeling nervous for him. And Chagaev, for me, was starting to come on again a bit. I scored Chagaev the 9th, and then in the 10th round, in what I would say was against a run of play, because Chagaev was looking decent at this point for me. Lucas Browne times Chagaev, he catches him, Chagaev swings and misses, and Lucas Browne just turns him with a hook, catches him on the chin and drops Ruslan Chagaev. And that's testament to Browne's punching power, because as we know, Chagaev's got an excellent chin. Chagaev gets up on 8 or 9, but he's badly wobbled. He's badly wobbled, and Lucas Browne does an excellent job of getting all over him, throwing bombs at him, and forcing the stoppage. And the referee was right to jump in. I know Chagaev will complain, but the referee was absolutely right to jump in. And Lucas Browne, what a performance from him. He boxed 10 times better than I thought he would box. He was showing advancements to his game. His footwork was leagues above what I've seen before. His jab was leagues above what I've seen before. He showed improved punch variety with the uppercut and the hook to the body. He showed excellent durability and resilience to get back into the fight after being dropped that heavily, and to push the pace the round after. I was so impressed by Lucas Browne. This was a performance that I didn't believe he was capable of whatsoever. He did a great job. Look, Lucas Browne, he's a rough diamond. There's a lot more that needs to be worked on. And at this stage of his career, with his advanced years, he's never going to be a Muhammad Ali-style boxer. He was still sloppy in there at times. He often finished combinations out of position. So, very defensively open. You can catch Lucas Browne clean on the chin with relative ease in a fight, which makes for entertaining matchups, certainly. Lucas Browne is not the slickest boxer. He's not the most athletic. He's never going to be the most defensively blessed fighter. Don't get me wrong. I mean, despite this performance, Browne, for me, is still some way away from the true elite of the heavyweight division. But, this was a massive step up for Lucas Browne. And he came through it well. And he showed huge improvements. And he showed a lot of real likeable characteristics that mean he could be a problem for more heavyweights than I anticipated he would be. Fair play to Lucas Browne. He seems like a real gentleman. He seems like a great character of the sport, and he seems like a guy who's worked very hard to get to where he is. So I'm pleased for him on that basis. I believe his next fight has to be against Fresequendo, and that's an unfortunate fight for him to have to take. Browne's not been in a position where he's been in massive fights. He's not been in a position where he's earned massive money. You'd like to think that he'd want to get in some real high-profile defences of his new WBA paper title. But obviously Fresequendo, another ancient guy in his 40s, not a very glamorous opponent, not a big money opponent. That's unfortunate for Browne. But I'd pick Browne to beat Fresequendo at this stage. There's rumours circling that he'll fight David Haye at some point later in the year. David Haye wanting to get his hand on some silverware. So that would certainly be a more glamorous fight that has the opportunity of getting him more money and more celebrity should he be successful. But I'm really impressed by Lucas Browne. For me, I still had him 2 rounds up at the time of the stoppage. And he showed that whilst there are holes in his game, he's an improved fighter, and if he can stay in the shape he was in tonight, he can be a threat within the heavyweight division. He probably moves, I need to consider it, but he'd probably move in my rankings to being just outside the top 30 to possibly being in the top 10 after tonight. You know, it's a good win against Chagaev. Very solid, experienced competitor, Chagaev, an awkward guy as well. And not only did he beat him, not only did he outbox him, not only did he outwork him, but he stopped him and he knocked him out. Real good stuff from Lucas Browne. I would like to see an investigation, or I'd like to see some comments on what went wrong in that 6th round. You know, I thought if that round did go on much longer than 3 minutes, and I suspect it did, that is very, very, very dubious. You know, why is it that the only time, the first 5 rounds were all perfectly timed, the 6th round, when Browne is wobbled, when he's well up on my scorecard, why is it that that round was extended the extra seconds? That was very dodgy. I also, and I'll just throw this in there, fair play to the referee, he made a good stoppage. I thought the referee was quite poor tonight with his positioning in the ring. You know, I thought he was getting in the way of the action. A few times I saw him bump into the fighter. I thought his positioning wasn't very good. And look, I know referees are often bigger guys, older guys. You know, this referee tonight, I know he's a very respected senior referee, but he was very poorly positioned, and I felt that he disrupted the fight several times and possibly could have caused an issue when he kept bumping into the fighters and stopping the action. So yeah, just a little moan for me there. I'm really impressed by Lucas Browne tonight. Real credit to him. I'm pleased he's won. It's good for heavyweight boxing. You know, Chagaev, he's a good fighter, but he wasn't very active. He didn't seem to have the intention to take the big fights. He wasn't a great character. You know, Lucas Browne, he had something to the heavyweight mixture, and I'm pleased that he won. Fair play to Lucas Browne, and congrats on the win. You know, good stuff. Clearly, to get to the elite level, you're possibly going to need a bit more defence, a bit more balance. But who knows what Lucas Browne will go on to do in the future. You know, I didn't believe he'd be able to box and jab and move and dance like he did tonight. So, you know, he's someone who can maybe raise his game to different levels as he steps up in class. He's someone who can maybe raise his game if he is able to keep in shape and keep this fit. And, you know, clearly he was very, very fit tonight. You know, for such a big man to be up on his toes like he was early on, to be dropped like he was and to recover, very, very fit man, and showed a lot of heart. Fair play to Lucas Browne. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up button, press the subscribe to the channel. Many thanks for watching, guys.